How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Wow.
Good. Were you at the Republican thing last night with Rand Paul?
Yes, I was.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was good. You know, I supported him all throughout what he was doing during the COVID time, and so it was a good review of what actually happened and how Fauci still needs to be prosecuted.
Yeah.
I support Rand Paul and what he did. The talk was a little briefer than I thought it would be. It was like 30 minutes, but it was a good event. Short but sweet. Sometimes shorter is better.
Yeah, so we don't need science, we need justice, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
In a lot of ways, a lot of places. Anyway.
okay, so let's talk about elections and voting to start with. Rich called earlier and had some comments about how to handle the voting and so forth as far as turning in your ballot or, showing up with your ballots and, whether you wanted to get one from the office or putting it in the mail slot at the, actual office there. What do you think?
Well, my opinion is, after being an election observer last election in November, I think that what we need to do is actually vote in person on election day with a precinct ballot. The reason is because if you send in your ballot through the mail or through the actual precinct, if you sign the envelope, it goes through another checkpoint. And they have to then signature verify your envelope. So it goes through the Agilis. Someone has to look at it. They may challenge that ballot. I've seen them either, not challenge ballots where the signature doesn't look right and they let those ballots slide. And I've also seen the converse where that signature looked like a pretty good match to me, but they challenged it. So I'm telling people to vote in precinct with a precinct ballot as well. And don't worry about your mail-in ballot. They're not requiring you to surrender it.
If you do, I would void it.
And if you surrender it, then void it first, put an X through it, But I'm saying that, and the other reason why to do it that way, to use a precinct ballot at the precinct, is because the ones that are sent by mail or have a signature envelope, those won't get counted for another 2 or 3 weeks. And Rich was saying it was a good idea because it wouldn't give any heads up as to what how people voted ahead of time. But in those 2 to 3 weeks, we have very few people looking at the elections. All the election observers have gone home. There's no one really observing it. And they can also, the problem is that we have a month before and then 3 weeks after where shenanigans can take place. And if you vote at the precinct using a precinct ballot on election day, those ballots will actually be tabulated that night at the ROV on Market Street, at the Market Street location. It'll be scanned through the Canon scanners and then tabulated with the Hart Verity count Hart Verity count system.
Do you think we could get some legislation passed to require voter ID? Because you have to have ID for everything under the sun. This whole canard of, you're going to disenfranchise voters and, the minorities. Well, number one, there's not a ton of minorities in Shasta County. So then what is it? Because they're poor, they don't have ID. It's just ridiculous. You have to have ID for everything under the sun. So they're using that as a cudgel to be able to cheat, in my opinion. Can we get something done about that?
We absolutely need to, and we must. That's something we can do on the board, is make a local ordinance. We can outline how we want elections to take place here in Shasta County, and that would be one of my top priorities. And right now, the state is it's not illegal to have voter ID. They're definitely not enforcing it anywhere in California.
Right.
But the legislature wants to go a step further and say it's illegal to have voter ID in our state.
Wow.
These people are, you can't, how can you even say that? They don't want a fair election. They don't want an election with integrity with the voters. It's just insane.
And the irony is when I went down to the Secretary of State's office in Sacramento to fight against AB 969, the Secretary of State demanded that we show our IDs just to get into her building.
Well, and go through a metal detector and everything else. Yeah.
These guys don't care. It's very Stalinistic. They're very Marxist. We don't care about the votes. We care who counts the votes, And that's all this is that you can come up with any reason under the sun. And we questioned Kathy Darling-Alling about this when she was here, or whatever her name is, Kathy whatever. And so maybe that's her new name, Catherine,
Well,
whatever. But we asked her, are you in favor of ID? And she says, well, they'll never pass it at the state. Well, what about, are you just personally in favor? She wouldn't answer the question. Why? It's insane.
Well, we have to have ID for anything else.
Right.
The rest of us do anyway.
All right.
So what are a couple of your top issues that you would, when you got into office, that you would want to see done?
Well, the elections is one. We just kind of covered that. We need hand-counted elections at the precincts using the paper poll books. The other big issue for me...
I want to ask, explain to people what a paper poll book is.
Okay, right now, we just recently changed to electronic poll book, where you check in electronically. They make sure you haven't voted. And before, we had a paper poll book, which was just a big booklet printed of everybody's name in the neighborhood. When you came in, you signed a check, signed your name that you had voted. And recently, they changed that within the last year to electronic poll books. And the problem is that NGOs can have access to this. They have near real-time access, so they know who has voted, and they know how many votes need to be changed in order to flip the election.
I wonder if you could have any legislation passed, and I'm just throwing stuff out here, to make harsher voter criminal penalties available to people because, for election fraud and so forth.
Yeah, I'd support that 100%.
Well, and so what I think is when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of it, you have all of these people, like these illegal immigrants in all of these areas, and they don't want it based upon the fact that they would lose, the last time they looked into it, 20 seats. 20 seats because the census counts the illegal aliens and then gives the illegal aliens the same rights as the person
Well,
who
and they're
is
going
there.
to try to make them voters.
Yeah.
They already just tried it in New York, and then the Supreme Court slammed them, so you can't do it. So then they're trying to make these people voters. And they even had a Chinese national put on the board in some place in
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. And to your point there, why is DMV handling voter registration?
Yeah, we need to have a localized voter rolls that's not connected to the DMV. 'Cause right now, NGOs can add voters to the voter roll. The Secretary of State can add voters. Pretty much, there's 9 different entities that have access to change our local voter rolls. We need to change that, make it completely not connected to the internet. Right now, it can be connected to the internet, and it's legal by law that they are.
So in this election, if we go with I guess we have to go with state law that we have to use voting machines. What's the backup to using the voting machines if it's challenged?
Well, the state law is saying that we must use the voting machines. However, if you look at it closely, there are parts of the California election code that are contrary to that. And I have some examples here.
Would you have a hand count if somebody challenged it?
Well, the thing is that at the local level, at California Elections Code 19201 grants the authority to the county governing board, which would be the Board of Supervisors, to adopt any kind of voting system or combination of voting system.
So maybe you have a machine count and then you have a hand count. Why couldn't you do that?
Yeah. So we need to decide locally how we want our elections to be run. And then it'll be up to the ROV, the Register of Voters, to either comply with county law or comply with state law. If she complies with the state law instead of the county law, she'll be in violation of our local ordinances.
Then we need to vote her out.
And
Right.
we would have more grounds for getting rid of her.
So what is another thing you would like to see or address when you be Board of Supervisors?
Well, I basically am focusing on anything that is interfering with our sovereignty here in Shasta. So I think the state is attacking us from every angle. We said we didn't want windmills. They're going to force that down our throat with AB 205 and 209. So we need to fight against that. Every time we come up with something within 1 or 2 weeks, the state is coming up with a retaliatory law to prevent us from self-governing. We have strong plenary rights in the California Constitution, and we also have the U.S. Constitution protecting us. And we need to utilize those rights that we have, assert our constitutional rights, and not just as private citizens, but as board members who have signed, sworn an oath to the Constitution.
I think that's the biggest thing that we're changing in this county is the fact is that we got to have people on the Board of Supervisors that are going to support and defend the Constitution and the people's rights. And you can't get out of some of the candidates, they won't even talk about it.
Yeah. When I asked one of the candidates from District 2 before I'd even decided to run, I said, "Are you a constitutionalist?" And he said, "Depends on how you define constitutionalist." I said, "Will you support Shasta sovereignty?" He said, "Depends on how you define sovereignty." So,
wow.
So we have a call.
Yeah, we do. We've got Dick on the line.
Points I want to get to real quick too. So let's get.
Are you there, Dick?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was listening to you talking earlier and stuff, and it reminded me of something that I written and read before the Board of Supervisors on June 28th, 2021. And I'd like to read only one page. Takes about a minute.
Okay, hurry up, Dick, because we got a lot of stuff to cover.
Go.
What? Okay, I said, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt died about 5 months before World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945. Vice President Harry S. Truman became the next president. President Truman made this one comment, and went something like this: "You cannot become rich in politics unless you are a crook." We now have several hundred U.S. senators and House representatives that have become extraordinarily rich after elected to office. Many have been in office 3 or 4 decades. After long periods in office, they learn how to use the system for personal gain and neglect the people they put them there. The Founding Fathers did not intend to have career politicians, but to serve a couple of years, return home. How can we put a stop to the abuse in office? We need term limits. How about it?
That was my first. That's actually my next question, Dick. I was going to ask
intro.
Laura if she was in favor of Measure C, but go ahead.
Yeah, let me get through. But how? I said, but how? I don't know how. I'm not suggesting we have crooks in our local government, but why don't we have term limits? Too long in office creates an opportunity to use the system for personal gain. We now have a local effort we call 3 county supervisors. Whether it's successful or not, we still need this energized group to get term limits accomplished. 2 terms and go home. How do we do that? I don't know. When you leave office here today, you may forget all that I've just said today, but please remember this one last sentence. Here it is. When you see an elected official, national or local, remember this. They are similar to 30 diapers. They both need to be changed frequently.
Thanks, Dick.
Thank you, Dick.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyway,
Right.
that was 2021, and Modi was the book chair, and I wanted to get term limits stuff, but nobody paid attention to me.
I think I think we've got people that are starting to talk that. So let's ask Laura the question: are you in favor of term limits on Measure C, Laura?
yes, absolutely. I support term limits. And in fact, I think we need to go further than that and drain the local swamp here. We have a lot of people that are sticking around from a corrupt government, and we need to root out all corruption in our local government. And the way I would do that is by impaneling another grand jury. We have a grand jury currently, but they're overwhelmed with administrative tasks and whatnot. So if we get another grand jury, we can look at the people in our government that have been placed and that don't belong there. We could look at the county resource department, for instance, that's blocking permits for a lot of people. And to make sure that everything's being run fairly, these people can investigate allegations that have been made. The jury can investigate.
Here's a thought on the grand jury, and I don't know if you have any control over this at all. Can we get people on the grand jury that won't just pick the Good Old Boys Club? Because I went down there and applied for the grand jury, I think 3 or 4 times, and I guess I'm just, my moral turpitude is a problem, I guess, because I never got picked. And so it seems like it's kind of a Good Old Boys Club. Who's in charge of that?
You know, that's a good question. I do know somebody that is on the grand jury, so I could find out from them, but we definitely, I think that's something that the board should be directly involved in, personally.
And I agree with you. We do need another grand jury, because right now they say they can't take on some of the cases or even look at what's presented to them because they're overwhelmed, which it shouldn't be that way.
Well,
I mean, because there's stuff out there that needs to be done.
Maybe prioritize the cases for importance sake would be the way to go. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Thanks, Dick. I don't know if he's still on the line.
I don't think so.
Okay, so the next is we covered term limits. Measure D, Charter County. Are you in favor of it?
Yep, I'm in favor of that. That's going to be one of the ways in which we can retain our local sovereignty is by becoming a charter county instead of a general law county. Right now, the state is taking control of every last corner and facet of our lives, and we can actually use the charter to outline what we want here as a county. Right now, the way it's written for the voters is that they choose to be part of a charter county so that if somebody is recalled or leaves the board, they will be replaced by either the board appointing someone or by a special election. So that's the first step. It's initiating the process of a charter county, but I think it needs to even go further than that.
Why do you think the left is so opposed to that? Because they keep saying we need local control in all their ads. And Governor Newsom won't appoint him, but even though he can.
Back to the grand jury real quick. In the chat room, it is said that the local superior court and DA have a hand in grand jury selections.
Interesting. Okay, so that kind of brings
part
us
of the
back.
process.
There's part of the problem right
And
there.
part of the problem, yeah.
So I have a feeling that our county is captured, and it's based on my analysis of the election data. A lot of people who are currently seated, the DA, the sheriff, the ROV, Kathy Allen, and Judy Flores,
Yeah.
all show signs of computer manipulation in their favor when I look at the cast vote record.
Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. There's no conspiracies in theory.
And we do have judges that are appointed by the governor and past Democratic governors.
Yeah, that's another thing in their ads. They said that he didn't appoint them all, so I guess he's not going to appoint ours, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah. I don't trust him.
No,
He's
he
already
just appointed
appointed
2 judges.
We should trust Newsom, though, shouldn't we?
Yeah, well, yeah,
No.
sure. Look at my shirt. Yeah, we should. We should.
Governor Newsom, stop. All right, so what else have we got here? We've got a couple more minutes about to the bottom of the hour, so 3 minutes. Give us what you got and how to get a hold of you and how do people support you.
Great. Well, my website is votelaurahobbs.com, LauraHobbs. And I got a lot of content on my website. You can see all the previous times I've gone before the board. I lay it out pretty clear exactly how I feel on all the local issues. You can find videos. You can donate to me there as well. And previous ads, you name it, it's all there. So I'm encouraging people to vote for me because I'm an ordinary citizen here in Shasta. I don't have any desire to become a lifelong politician, to work in Sacramento or D.C. I'm just doing this to help our community, to do what I can to help our country, and to make a better future for my children.
Well, elections have consequences.
And with that,
and we need consequences.
one thing that you put out there is you're a MAGA.
Yep, MAGA 100%. I'm proud of it, not ashamed in the least. So,
you're not supporting Biden?
No.
Is anybody supporting Biden these days?
I don't even.
Are Biden supporters supporting Biden? That's the question.
That's a good question.
It's crazy. So, any last thoughts or information you want to get out there?
No, just to vote March 5th. It's coming up. Vote in person on Election Day at the precinct.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
I do have to say, and it was in that ad that you saying, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance at that meeting was very, very cool.
Very telling.
Yes.
Thank you. It was my honor and my pleasure.
Because everybody's in the crowd looking around going, what the hell?
The League of Women Voters, this is, historically not started with the Pledge of Allegiance, which tells me that you don't have allegiance to the country, in my book.
Exactly.
So you have no business telling people how to vote if you don't have allegiance to our country, right?
Do you have any town halls coming up?
Actually, not currently. I've already held 7 town halls.
Nice.
So, and I had my last one yesterday. If I find a venue, I might have another. But the citizens of Igono can find me up there at the farmers market this next week. I'll be there on Thursday between 2 and 5.
Okay. And other ways to get a hold of you?
Well, you can contact me at my website, and my email is mrs.mrs.laurahobbs@protonmail.com.
Any phone numbers or no?
No phone numbers, but if you email me, I'll give you my number.
And with that, we want to thank you for coming in. And again, it's coming close. It's not too far off now.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You bet. With that, we have to take a break.